Excuse me. What are you doing? Hey everybody, what's going on? Harley Q here with another video. We're actually going to be talking about what it's like to be building a game room on a budget, or just buying games on a budget. So we're going to be talking about gaming on a budget, but before we do, I'm going to do a quick shout out to myself, like I always do. If you want to talk more about this topic, you can always find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/HarleyQs_playtime. I stream Monday to Tuesday. I have Wednesday, Thursday off. I usually release a video at least once a week on my YouTube channel, usually talking about retro games. Sometimes I talk about modern stuff, but generally I try to stick to older video game systems. If you have any suggestions for the channel, make sure to leave a comment below, and you could always reach me on my social medias and, they'll probably pop up somewhere. Anyway, let's just jump right into the video. So this topic is very near and dear to my heart because I am definitely a budget builder. And what that means is I have a very, very small income. As in, I don't have a lot of money to spend on video games. Now, I think that the whole purpose of my channel, and I've said it a million times, and I'll say it a million times again, is you don't have to have thousands of dollars in order to build a game room. Now, if you want to have it this moment, yes, you need to have a lot of money, but if you're willing to wait, it can happen. You could have your game room. Now, from my video back in, I keep saying March, it's actually April, the video came out for my game room tour. It's actually grown significantly since that time, and I'm actually super excited to do another video to display all the things that I've gotten so far, to the point where I'm actually going to have to start displaying some in another room or moving the whole collection altogether. Because right now my living room is my game room, and we're running out of room. To the point where I've had to buy at least 2 new bookshelves this year alone. To talk what it's like gaming on a budget and buying on a budget is that there's a lot of things that you have to constantly do. It's a lot of waiting. It's a lot of missing out on some opportunities, especially for financial reasons. I know for me, I missed out on the Nintendo Switch when it first came out because I didn't want to drop that much money on a system right away. And I didn't have the money to throw away $300 on a system I didn't even know if I was going to like. So that's part of the things that happen. I mean, now I have my Animal Crossing Switch that I happened to get back in March. I was very fortunate enough to get it, unlike a lot of people. I know that Switches are really hard to get your hands on nowadays, and they're going up in prices ridiculously, and the stocks just kind of sell out as soon as they get them. I've already discussed that in my, Is game collecting still worth it video, which came out a couple weeks ago. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that these videos that I keep making are kind of videos that I'm gonna return to. These topics are things that, more points come out and more things happen that you can continue to discuss. So that's just the point. Like the video I came out with last week, which was the annoying things about game collecting, because it kind of goes into this video, but it didn't really fit what I had to say, didn't really fit into that video. So that's why we're doing this video this week. So budget collecting can be hard, but it also can be super exciting. I want to say the best thing to do when budget collecting is to try and pick one system that you really want to focus on, because that definitely helps. Like I've said before, I primarily collect for my PlayStation 2. I do collect for everything else, but that's the one I've targeted, and I've targeted it for a particular reason. The reason why I went for it is, 1, I have nostalgia for it. And 2, the PlayStation sold, I want to say, 150 million units. I will check that number. It's a very large number. It is the system that sold the most units of all time out of any game system. I think the Atari 2600... No, the Atari 2600 was the one that ran the longest. The PlayStation almost beat it, but it ran for, I think, 13 years, as opposed to the Atari 2600, which ran for 14 years. Anyway, I went on a rant about numbers just there. But the point I was trying to make with that is a lot of people owned a PlayStation 2, which means that a lot of people have PlayStation 2 games, and those people aren't necessarily gamers, meaning that they don't know exactly what they own, and they're just trying to get rid of it. Just last week, I got a stack of PlayStation 2 games for free. That doesn't happen too often. It's actually super rare to get games for free. But the fact of the matter is, I've had people who have said, I have a stack of PlayStation 2 games, I'm never gonna play them again. You can take the stack for $5, or you can have them for free. Things like that happen so often when game collecting. That's just why I particularly go for that system. Also, people tend not to sell PlayStation 2 games that high because there are so many of them and because it sold so well, at least in my opinion. Again, I am not a professional at this. This is just all from my experience of game collecting. But that is definitely something that I keep in mind, especially when being a budget collector. I think what's important to realize when having a small amount of money to spend on something that can be a definitely very expensive field is that you're in a very competitive field. There are so many people in your area that are fighting and doing the exact same thing that you're doing. They're going to thrift stores, they're going to flea markets, they're going to yard sales, garage sales, estate sales. They're going to the same places that you are, and sometimes they're going to beat you there. Prime example, this Saturday I got up really early to drive to a place that was about 30 minutes from my house to go to a yard sale. The yard sale started at 9 o'clock. I got there at 9:02. All of the games were gone. Every single one. I drove there for nothing. And I did mention that in my last video that has happened to me. Usually I get there and there's only slim pickings, and I usually end up just picking up something anyway, but there was nothing. There was a Rock Band microphone left. That was the only game-related thing that was left there, and I already have 10 of those, and I have no interest in getting more of those. When it comes to budget collecting, that is definitely something that can be incredibly irritating. Having the stream and not being immediately able to fulfill it can definitely be super discouraging and frustrating and kind of make you super angry, because you just want to be able to talk more about these games and test them out and all these things. I will say this much, that sometimes you just gotta have these certain places that you know not a lot of people go to. There's this one flea market near me that has decent games, nothing too expensive, nothing too out there, but I always get some good finds there. So I call it old reliable.
Old reliable.
Because it's not a big flea market, it's kind of hidden, you have to know it's there, and that's where I get my stuff from sometimes. So, and the most expensive games that I've bought in there have been $5 each, which I think that's pretty damn good. It's also knowing when things restock too. I know that some people actually end up going to Walmart and getting clearance items for games. Sometimes you can get games as low as 3 cents. I've actually don't really go to Walmart to buy games. The Walmarts near me tend to be crazy, so I just don't go to Walmart for games, but I'm sure there are people who will tell you that those are a great place, a great resource to get games from. I just like to get lucky sometimes when I'm moseying on through Target, and on occasion I will see like a Switch game or a PlayStation game that's on sale. The only ones that I buy physical for are the Nintendo Switch. And those are games that are only specific for that system. I generally game on PC now, yeah. I'm a PC gamer generally. Unless I'm playing my older system games, which I definitely do. Definitely play those. Otherwise, this channel would be a waste of time. I definitely think that we have there's a bunch of different YouTube channels out there that talk about this topic. Not specifically this topic, but they talk about how to do it, but they don't talk about the frustrating parts of it. It's the always having to fight with another person to get there, messaging somebody knowing that you're probably not the first person to message them. My July pickups, when I had that game lot of the Xbox and the PlayStation 1, I was very fortunate to be the first person to contact them. I remember when I saw the post, it was up for 11 minutes. I remember because I almost didn't message them, because once you reach the 10-minute mark, at least that I've noticed, once you reach the 10-minute mark, you are in the danger zone.
Danger zone!
Somebody has probably already messaged them. Doesn't always happen. I usually think that if it's in an hour, I still message anyway. I never do 24 hours because generally if it was a good price, it's probably already gone. I've messaged though. I'm not saying I don't, but I usually will kind of walk away from something because I'm like, it's probably already gone. I definitely think that there's networking involved when it comes to selling used games, I definitely think there's networking involved when it comes to buying used games. For example, there have been times where I've gone to collect games that I'm buying off of somebody, and one of the things that I always like to mention is, if you find any more used games, please feel free to message me, or is there any other things that you're selling that are game related? And there have been times where I've actually had people contact me back saying, I found some more stuff, would you be interested? And I've actually bought off of somebody multiple times because every time they find some kind of game in their house, they will contact me and say, hey, I found these used games. I actually had a woman who I bought a bunch of games off of last month messaged me with a bunch of computer games. I don't buy computer games. I don't have any way of playing them. I don't have a PC that would play older games. I don't even have a disk drive on my current PC, so there's no point for me to buy older games. At least at this point. Maybe down the line I could buy PC games, but as of right now I just don't have any interest in buying PC games. I feel that people think that they need to buy for the most expensive system, or the system that's gonna give them brag rights, and I feel that you could have brag rights with any type of game room. If your game room is strictly for a PlayStation 4, or if your game room is strictly for a ColecoVision, that's pretty cool. I don't know who collects for ColecoVision, but apparently the people are out there. But yeah, if you are just strictly an NES or an SNES, I think that's pretty freaking cool. You know, your game room is just as valid as my game room, and my game room is just as valid as somebody else's game room. Just because it doesn't have all of the top games that were ever made for every system doesn't mean that it's not a nice game room, because I still have some really cool in my game room. It can be super frustrating sometimes and super discouraging, and it's a lot of work. It's so much work to be a budget gamer. It's so much work. It's exhausting sometimes. I start my day off by waking up, and the first thing I do is check the Facebook Marketplace. I usually go under video games. I think it's video games and video games and consoles. I go under electronics. I go under yard sales, and then I go under free. Because sometimes all of those, people don't know where to post these things, and they just kind of post them wherever. But I usually, if I'm in a rush, I'll just check the video game system, and I'll just check there. Then I go over to Craigslist, and I check video games, I check electronics, I check free. I don't always check yard sales on Craigslist, but I usually do that on my computer so I can sit down and write down the yard sales that I want to go to that weekend, if it's yard sale season. And I periodically, whatever I'm doing throughout the day, I take a quick peek on my phone every couple of hours, and I recheck to see if these things are there. I have a bunch of Facebook groups that I've joined that are local to my area, which are yard sale groups and just, pickers groups where people are just selling stuff. On occasion, I'll throw an ad up there saying that I buy used games, and if they find anything, to message me. I've actually gotten some really good stuff from doing that, so that's a great resource to do. But yeah, I totally can understand how discouraging it could be when you're collecting, and this goes for any kind of collecting, actually. It could go for collecting vintage books, it could go for collecting comic books, because I did actually used to collect comic books. I still on occasion do when I pick them. I still pick some up when I see them, things that interest me. I don't read them as much as I used to. I should read them as much as I used to. Comic books are pretty amazing. But it goes for comic books, movies, older movies, older DVDs. It goes for figurines. Pop figurines are ridiculous. Some people charge a ridiculous amount for a pop figurine that you could get for $5 on Amazon. It's definitely frustrating, being a budget of any kind of collecting. It's just, it could be so exhausting. I think sometimes collectors don't really get enough credit for what they do, because they do some crazy things to get what they want. I watch a bunch of collecting channels on YouTube that just give helpful hints, and the amount of effort that goes into collecting for them is amazing. And I thought I was the only crazy person that messages people about video games almost every day. But, like I said, I mentioned this in almost all of my videos. I live for collecting games. I love talking about them. I don't know what my life would be like without my games or my game room or just the thought of getting more games. It's just a wonderful hobby to be in. There's some wonderful people out there in this crazy journey with you who are also after these games and also after that next big deal, that chase. I keep saying it's the thrill of the chase that really gets people going. I think it's hard sometimes when you're really interested in a certain type of game and the game goes for like $100. I know the one game I'm dying to play is Stubbs the Zombies for the original Xbox. It's Xbox games generally don't go for that much. They're actually a really cheap system to buy for. And I saw this game, Metal Jesus has mentioned it on his channel several times. And the first time I saw it, I realized I really wanted to get the game. And then I looked at the price of the game, and it goes for, I want to say, $90 complete in box. So that's part of the reason why I haven't personally bought it. I've tried to. I really have tried to. This whole thing could be like almost a series that I do of just frustrating things that collectors have to deal with. Because that's kind of what the last 3 videos have been based off of. Just general frustrations. And I don't know, these are just problems that collectors in general have to face, especially when on a budget. And especially in this day and age, I feel like it's very hard to find somebody who's got the kind of money to spend on this. Although they're obviously out there, because look at GameCube prices. I keep talking about the poor GameCube. I should probably just do a video on the pricing for the Nintendo GameCube, since I just keep attacking the poor system like crazy. I don't know, maybe that'll be another video, just the ridiculous prices for a Nintendo GameCube. I only have like 5 games for mine. Like I said, I don't have nostalgia for it, so there's no rush for really me to collect for it. I would like to think at some point that I do start to collect for it, because it is a good system. It's not a bad system. I've played on it before, but like I said, I just don't have any nostalgia for it. So yeah, that's pretty much the video. I probably missed a bunch of points I was gonna say because it was kind of a rant-filled video. Definitely a nice way to express some of the frustration that I feel, because I am a budget collector and I try to give you guys the best information that I know, and I don't even know that much information. I like to think that I do. I'm constantly trying to learn new stuff so I could share it with you and share it with whoever wants to listen. But that's pretty much the video, and if you have any comments, you got anything to say, anything to share, tips and tricks, that's what we do with this community. We like to spread that stuff forward. Spread it forward? But yeah, we like to continue the chain of sharing stuff and keeping the love of video games alive, because sometimes in this crazy world, we kind of forget where our passion starts. That's pretty much it. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to check out my Twitch channel where we talk about how I'm a potato, how I love food, which kind of goes with being a potato, and we also talk about video games. A lot. We talk about current video games, we talk about older video games, we talk about the comparison between them. We actually just had a really great discussion the other day on cell shading in games. We could actually do a whole video on like the top cell shaded games and kind of do like a history, because a lot of people just say Borderlands is where it all started, but there's so many other examples where it all started. But again, I'm going on a rant again, so make sure you should give this video a thumbs up, because that doggo back there, right there, see her? She's gonna be sad. You want to make a doggo sad? Do you want to make a doggo sad? Then you better subscribe. That doggo's gonna be sad.